Well, the breaking news tonight is that meeting between the ex-Congress Chief Minister Amarinder Singh and Home Minister Amit Shah. For the latest, let's go across to all our reporters tracking this story. And first, Arvind, it's over to you because we know that apparently the Amit Shah meeting with Captain Amarinder Singh has ended, but it's not very clear yet what's next for Captain Singh. What are the details you have?
Yeah, Sonia, Captain Amarinder Singh, the former Chief Minister of Punjab, arrived at the residence of Union Home Minister Amit Shah somewhere close to 6 p.m. and then the meeting went on for over 45 minutes. The meeting went on till 6:45 p.m. But what is very interesting and also what is very surprising is that after the meeting, when the convoy of Captain Amarinder Singh left, Amarinder Singh was not present in that car in which he arrived at the residence of Home Minister Amit Shah. At the same time, a convoy from the residence, other gate of Home Minister Amit Shah left from the residence, and what we are being told is that in order to avoid the media, Captain Amarinder Singh used the convoy and the car of Home Minister Amit Shah to leave the residence of Home Minister Amit Shah. So we are not sure where Captain Amarinder Singh left after the meeting with Home Minister Amit Shah. So what BJP sources are saying is that they are actually seeing an opening in Punjab with Captain Amarinder Singh reaching out to BJP, because what BJP leaders are pointing out is that Captain Amarinder Singh, after stepping down as the Chief Minister of Punjab, is in Delhi for last 2 days, but he has not met Congress President Sonia Gandhi, but he has chosen to meet Union Home Minister Amit Shah. This BJP is looking as an opening for the party in Punjab, where the party is facing a massive challenge with the ongoing farmers' protest.
Right, and in fact, Akhilesh, as you've been saying, there's now a situation where the BJP doesn't have a captain, the captain doesn't have a party. So in that sense, it's a good alliance to make, but also much speculation that for Captain Amarinder Singh to go with the BJP, there has to be a major rethink of the BJP on farm laws. Anything you've heard on that?
Well, of course, I think that the BJP also wants to get out of this situation where, there's a standoff for the past 1 year and the BJP is facing a lot of, anger among the farmers, and especially in the coming elections, which is very crucial for the party in Uttar Pradesh, and also Haryana, which is, the BJP's own government is actually facing a lot of protests. So party wants to get out of this, and of course, Captain Amarinder Singh can provide that kind of a solution. And as you rightly said, that the captain doesn't have a party and the BJP doesn't have a captain. So it suits both of them to come together. We know that the BJP has been in alliance in Punjab with the Akali Dal for the past 40 years. For the past 4 decades, they were together, but on these farm laws, the Akali Dal broke the alliance with the BJP, and now the BJP is on its own. The party has the mass base only in the urban areas of Punjab, and of course, BJP believes that by taking the urban votes and also with the scheduled caste votes, it can actually show some performance, because in the past assembly election, BJP managed to win only 3 assembly seats and Akali Dal only 17. So BJP thinks that it can have some chance if captain comes along.
And in fact, just on the broader political picture, Srinivasan, because really the Sidhu aftershocks seem to have had ramifications across states, because now you've got in Delhi, you've seen the G23 rebel leaders in a sense come out very vocally there. Also, and an interesting aspect which both Akhilesh and you are looking at, that the mention of Pakistan's now, is that looking at a possible central role in Punjab? Could there possibly be president's role? And Mamata Banerjee and the Congress now also emerging as fighting with each other, with Abhishek Banerjee making very strong statements against the Congress today. Remember, this is when the Congress hasn't fielded a candidate against Mamata Banerjee. So 2 or 3 big political developments there.
Sure, let's try and unpack these one by one, Sonia. Let's just start with Punjab, since that's the immediate story before us. That, look, while there certainly seems to be enough reason for both the BJP and Amarinder to seek each other out, the fact is that there is a challenge for the captain. It's true that he doesn't have a party, but is it the BJP that he'd like to align himself with? Because the BJP has very little political capital in Punjab, and it'll be a challenge for Amarinder Singh to inherit that. Number 2, we also know, Sonia, that Captain Amarinder himself was on a weak wicket at the time when he was sacked as Chief Minister. There was tremendous amount of anti-incumbency against him. In fact, when he actually broke with the Congress, not a single MLA came to his side. So it is going to be a dilemma for both these forces, while it's in their interest to come together to negotiate how it's done. Is it going to be directly by Captain Amarinder joining the BJP, or he floats a regional party with the backing of the BJP? These are all the questions which still remain unanswered. But of course, the wider point, as you mentioned, is the fact that now the aftershocks of Punjab have reached the doorstep, as it were, of the Gandhi Parivar, particularly the Gandhi siblings. I think the G23 and others within the Congress who've been watching the unraveling of the party have been sort of holding their horses, keeping their powder dry. But I think this latest trigger of Punjab has pushed these people to come forward and start demanding answers from the leadership. So I think what we're seeing, Sonia, is just the first example of the rumblings of dissent becoming public. As we progress further, as the Congress continues to unravel, we saw the exit in Goa, we saw earlier the exit in Assam, we're seeing the crisis in Punjab, we'll see these voices getting louder and louder.
In fact, Akhilesh, I just had to come back to you because we discussed farm laws, but there's also one other aspect of which the ex-chief minister could be meeting the home minister. This point being made again and again that Punjab is a border state, that Pakistan will benefit from political uncertainty. Is there some kind of ground being laid for central rules since elections are not far? Would that be constitutionally viable?
Well, that opportunity was with the Captain Amarinder Singh when he was the chief minister. Had he recommended resolution of the assembly, that the centre would have, they happily agreed to that. But he missed that opportunity. But of course, national security is something, and nationalism is something which brings both of them together. Though there are differences between the two factions as far as the farm laws are concerned, but the national security issue is something which can brought them together. And of course, the BJP has been pointing it out. And if I recall correctly, that when Captain Amarinder Singh was the chief minister, when he came to meet Home Minister Amit Shah, that time also he mentioned that centre has to do something about the farmers registration, because Punjab being the border state, it's a very sensitive matter there, and that's why he also talked about the national security at that point of time. So of course this is one of the very big ground on which the centre can move ahead, but it all depends how situation unfolds within the Congress party, because we have seen that so far there is no attempt by the Congress High Command to appease Navjot Singh Sidhu, who has resigned.
In fact, I just want to go across also, Akhilesh, on that separately on that point you're making, what you talk about Vasuna. We're seeing their shots of Congress workers protesting outside Kapil Sibal's house after he made those strong remarks with roses and posters saying "Get well soon, Kapil Sibal." So let's just hear what Kapil Sibal actually had to say. Now, of course, you pointed out the dissent, but the Congress, Ajay Markan responding, saying, what does Kapil Sibal really have in terms of political standing too? But let's just look, those visuals there coming from outside Kapil Sibal's house right now, and why Congress workers are so angry with Kapil Sibal.
In our party, at the moment, there is no president. So we don't know who is taking these decisions. We know and yet we don't know. एक बात तो स्पष्ट है, हम जी हजूर 23 नहीं है, ये तो बात स्पष्ट है, ठीक है ना। हम अपनी बात रखेंगे और रखते जाएंगे, और जो अपनी मांगे हैं वो हम दोहराएंगे। हमारे लोग हमें छोड़ के जा रहे हैं, तो सवाल उठता ये है कि क्यों जा रहे हैं लोग। हम इतना तो जरूर कह सकते हैं कि उनकी निंदा भी कर सकते हैं कि क्यों पार्टी छोड़ के चले गए, लेकिन शायद हमें यह भी सोचना होगा, खुद से पूछना होगा, हो सकता है हमारी भी शायद कोई गलती रही हो। We are not one of those who will leave the ideology of the party and go anywhere else. In fact, it's ironic कि जो लोग इनके खासम खास थे वो तो इनको छोड़ के चले गए, और जो लोग ये समझते हैं इनके खासम खास नहीं हैं वो आज भी इनके साथ खड़े हैं। I don't want to talk about Punjab, but a border state where this is happening to the Congress party means what? It's an advantage to the ISI in Pakistan. We know the history of Punjab and the rise of extremism there. We know how forces across the border exploit the situation.
वही सोनिया गांधी अध्यक्ष हैं कांग्रेस पार्टी की, जिन्होंने सिब्बल साहब को बार बार मंत्री बनाया, बगैर कांग्रेस के लगातार बैकग्राउंड होने के सीधे सीधे मंत्री बना दिया। और ये सब लोगों को समझना चाहिए अच्छे से कि कांग्रेस वो संगठन है जिसने इन सब लोगों को पहचान दी है, तो कम से कम जिस संगठन ने इनको पहचान दी है उसके बारे में तो मीडिया के अंदर ओपनली इस तरीके से तिरस्कार ना करें कम से कम।
And the Gandhi's patience with Navjot Singh Sidhu finally seems to be running out. Nobody from Delhi has gone to meet Navjot Singh Sidhu, including the General Secretary in charge of Punjab, Harish Rawat. In fact, today Congress leader Rahul Gandhi is in Kerala, and apparently the party's plan B is already in place, which is to look for another state Congress chief. Meanwhile, Navjot Singh Sidhu stayed in his Patiala residence the whole day today and released a video saying his protest is against the resurrection of tainted leaders whom he had fought against. He also said the High Command is being misguided. The new Chief Minister spoke to Navjot Singh Sidhu on the phone. He apparently tried to placate him, saying there's no ego, but he also said the party is supreme.
Sarmathe Guru de insaf lai ladan de lai.
The man at the center of the latest storm in Punjab broke his silence by tweeting this video from Patiala. In it, he outlined why he quit, citing the appointment of officials said to be linked to the sacrilege case pertaining to the desecration of the Sikh holy book, Guru Granth Sahib.
कि जिन्हां ने 6-6 साल पहला बादलों ਨੂੰ ਕਲੀਨ ਚਿੱਟਾਂ ਦਿੱਤੀਆਂ ਛੋਟੇ ਛੋਟੇ ਮੁੰਡਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਤਸ਼ੱਦਦ ਕੀਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਉੱਤਰਦਾਇਤਵ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਗਿਆ ਇਨਸਾਫ ਦਾ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਬਲੈਂਕਟ ਬੇਲਾਂ ਦਿੱਤੀਆਂ
Sidhu, however, did not outline his course of action, simply saying he will not let the High Command be led astray, an attempt, some say, to pass the blame solely on Punjab's local Congress leadership.
मैं ना ते हाई कमांड ਨੂੰ ਗੁੰਮਰਾਹ ਕਰ ਸਕਦਾ ਤੇ ਨਾ ਗੁੰਮਰਾਹ ਹੋਣ ਦੇ ਸਕਦਾ.
But the High Command doesn't appear to be rushing to placate him. While over a dozen MLAs, including Cabinet Minister Raja Vading, Rajya Sultana and Pargat Singh, were sent to talk to Sidhu, uncertainty remained over whether Congress Punjab in charge Harish Rawat was rushed to Punjab to douse fires.
Chief Minister Channi in fact addressed the press flanked by two leaders, Bharat Bhushan and Vijay Inder Singla, close to ex-CM Amarinder Singh, and who have been targeted by Sidhu in the past. Amid crisis, the CM announced a 1,200 crore rupees power swap. The CM said the crisis will get resolved.
पार्टी सुप्रीम होती है, सरकार पार्टी की आइडियोलॉजी को मानती है और उसके ऊपर चलती है. पंजाब दे लोकां दे उन सारी फैसले होने जे किसी ने लगेगा ये नहीं ला इनो ला मैनू कोई इतराज नहीं है, मेरी कोई ईगो नहीं है किसी भी गल दे विच.
Other Congress leaders like Manish Tiwari, a member of the so-called G23 Congress dissenting group, was more outspoken, slamming Sidhu.
पंजाब एक सरहद का सूबा है. अफगानिस्तान में जिस तरह से घटनाक्रम घटा है उसको अगर आप संज्ञान में लें तो पंजाब और कश्मीर के ऊपर एक बहुत बड़ा खतरा मंडरा रहा है.
Meanwhile, Aam Aadmi Party Supremo Kejriwal arrived in Punjab, took a dig at Punjab CM, challenging him to deliver on all the pre-poll promises before the next polls and remove the tainted MLAs and ministers.
आरोप लग रहे हैं कि उन्होंने दागी अफसरों को अच्छी इम्पोर्टेंट पोस्टों पे बैठाया है. मैं उनसे निवेदन करूंगा कि जितने दागी मंत्री हैं, जितने दागी विधायक हैं और ये जितने दागी अफसर हैं, इनको तुरंत हटाया जाए.
The appointment of Charanjit Singh Channi as Chief Minister of Punjab appeared to have given the Congress party an edge as they played the caste card well. But bureaucratic appointments by the same Chief Minister has now antagonized Navjot Singh Sidhu, putting the party in a deeper crisis once again. With Akshay Dongre in Patiala, in Chandigarh, Mohammad Ghazali for NDTV.
And the larger political ramifications in the run-up to 2024, who will be the real opposition? After the call for joint unity within the opposition, in West Bengal at least, that seems to be disintegrating. Today, a former Congress Chief Minister of Goa joined Mamata Banerjee's party, but also talked about the various Congresses, the various offshoots of the Congress coming together. But what's interesting here is what the TMC General Secretary Abhishek Banerjee, Mamata Banerjee's nephew, said, saying that the Congress is practicing armchair politics. Leave it to us. We'll fight the BJP. The Congress hit back, saying that the TMC is now acting as agents of the BJP. Remember that the Congress hasn't fielded a candidate against Mamata Banerjee in a crucial by-election which is being held tomorrow.
In some problems, and obviously because of the problems, Congress is fragmented into YSR Congress, Trinamool Congress, Sharad Pawar Congress. So it's a high time if you have to fight against the divisive forces, there is no other choice.
The difference between Congress and Trinamool Congress is we have been consistently defeating the BJP over the last 7 years, and Congress is consistently being defeated by the BJP in the last 7 years. These are the two primary differences I would like to highlight in this press conference. Congress needs to get out from the armchair and hit the streets. It can't be done by sitting at the comfort of their homes in Delhi.
আপনার ভাইপোকে ডেকে বুঝিয়ে দেওয়া হলো যে লাইনে না চলে বিপদ, তারপর দিন থেকে আপনি গালাগালি করতে আরম্ভ করলেন কংগ্রেসকে। মোদির কাছে সুপারে নিয়ে নিলেন আপনি, কংগ্রেসকে দুর্বল করো, 7 খুন তোমার মাপ।
Well, meanwhile, full coverage of that crucial by-election tomorrow on NDTV. Meanwhile, Rahul Gandhi was in Kerala today, where he spoke at various gatherings and talked also of what his idea of India is, no reference to the current political happenings in Punjab or even the dissidents in Kerala.
They say India is a territory. We say India are people. India are relationships. We say India is a way of behaving. It is a way of treating other people. India is listening. India is appreciating. India is embracing. It is the relationship between Hindu and Muslim. It is the relationship between Hindu, Muslim and Sikh. It is the relationship between Tamil, Hindi, Urdu, Bengali.
Well, the other big headline, the cabinet today has cleared the PM Poshan scheme, which will take the current midday meal scheme into its gambit, but it will also now extend the scheme to all pre-primary schools or Bal Vatikas.
देश के करोड़ों निर्धन परिवारों से आने वाले बच्चों को जो सरकारी स्कूलों में जाते हैं, उनके लिए पीएम पोषण इस योजना को शुरू किया जाएगा और इस योजना के माध्यम से सरकारी स्कूलों में जाने वाले विद्यार्थियों को या गवर्नमेंट एडेड स्कूल हो उसके विद्यार्थियों को भी दोपहर का भोजन भी मिलेगा और 5 वर्ष तक चलने वाली पीएम पोषण में 1,31,000 करोड़ रुपए का व्यय होगा.
Well, a quick look at the latest COVID numbers. So it's good news. We're at 18,870. Now we're below 20,000 yesterday as well, and after many weeks. The case in the last 24 hours are 18,870. That's the lowest daily cases since March the 10th. Deaths, however, are up at 378. Vaccinations are at over 62 lakhs at 7:30 this evening. Tests are also up at over 15 lakhs, and the daily positivity rate is 1.25%. That's a good number. And the other big news is that India has now vaccinated nearly 25% of its adult eligible population. So that's a great number of nearly 25%. That's over 87 crore people vaccinated. Even if though globally that ratio is less than many other countries, the point here is that is a large number of over 87 crores, and of the adult eligible population we're at nearly 25%. Here it's showing 16% roughly, because that is the entire population, not just the adult eligible population. Well, the other big headline, power cuts are now being faced across China. It's become so bad that Chinese factories have been asked to suspend production, something which has huge ramifications for the manufacturing of globally of parts and especially of smartphones.
Chinese factories and households are facing rolling power cuts to meet official energy efficiency and pollution targets and to reduce strain on utilities that are being squeezed by high coal prices. Factories have been ordered to suspend production, threatening to disrupt global flows of smartphones and other goods made in China. On Wednesday, the Shenbi district of Shenyang began a 9-hour power cut from 7:30 a.m. local time to 4:30 p.m.
我们这超市还行，没有什么太特殊需要准备的，就是有电我就能卖货，还不像他们别的什么饭店了啥的需要水，但是没有水也很不方便。主要现在就是水电一体的，停水停电就对，就所有生活就是都有影响。
So power cuts there in China. Meanwhile, let's go back to breaking news. Well, the Captain Amarinder Singh's media advisor Raveen Tukral has just tweeted saying that the meeting between Amit Shah and the ex-Chief Minister was on farm laws, and how what was discussed was the prolonged agitation against farm laws, and that Captain Amarinder Singh urged Mr. Shah to resolve the crisis urgently with repeal of the laws and guarantee MSP, besides supporting Punjab in crop diversification. So Arvind joining me now. So Arvind, is that possibly what we were talking about just now, that there could be some reworking of farm laws? It will be seen as this is what Captain Amarinder Singh asked for, his request has been fulfilled, and he then joins the BJP and goes to the polls with the BJP saying that, look, we've listened to farmers and we've given in to their demands. Arvind?
Yeah, Sonia, a tweet has been put out by the media advisor of the former Punjab Chief Minister, Captain Amarinder Singh. The tweet reads saying that Captain Amarinder Singh met the Union Home Minister to discuss the prolonged farmers' agitation against the farm laws. And according to the media advisor, the Captain Amarinder Singh also urged the Union Home Minister to resolve the crisis urgently with the repeal of all the 3 farm laws, and also very importantly to guarantee the minimum support price, which is supporting Punjab in crop diversification. So these are the main points on which the Punjab farmers are protesting. Now that has been made as an official statement saying that Captain Amarinder Singh met the Union Home Minister on the farm laws issue. So now, if the centre informs the Supreme Court, because Supreme Court is also hearing this matter on the farmers' agitation, now the centre makes the first step in Supreme Court saying that they are trying to resolve this matter by reconsidering the issues or the proposals of farmers. That will be a big major change in the Punjab elections.
Exactly. So will this be the political game changer in Punjab if the BJP walks back on farm laws, takes Captain's suggestions, and Captain then joins BJP and goes into the Punjab polls with the BJP? Well, keep watching this space. Lots more political developments.